Hey guys, welcome to the Powerful Man Show, where we help married businessmen save their marriages without having to talk about it, get unstuck, and gain clarity in their lives. As I like to say, life is too short for average. I'm your host, Doug Holt, with my co host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. Now let's get this started. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. Tim, how you doing, brother?
I am doing well. I enjoyed the last episode. I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
You selected the topic as well. So I think it was a great one.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, we chose to use different podcast releasing software, and last week it didn't work for us. So we'll see if it works this time. We're switching it around, back on a different recording platform, and hopefully all is well.
Yeah. I was speaking to my mum at the weekend, and I didn't realize she listens to every episode.
Your mom does?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't realize.
Hi, Mrs. Matthews.
Yeah, Mrs. Matthews. Hi, Mom. Anyway, my dad's so needy and insecure. I don't think he does listen to every episode. If he does, I tease him about this anyway, so it's all good. But he caught a glimpse of her, right? Scrolling over the podcast. And obviously, you know our kind of podcast topics and the headlines, right?
Yep.
And if you were a little bit insecure within your relationship, I can understand my dad's reaction. So my dad's like, what are you looking at that for? And she's like, what do you mean? It's like, well, why are you listening to that? Why are you listening to that? What are you thinking about? He's like, shut up. Go away. But it's just so funny. It's just so funny to see. So I thought I'd share that with you because I thought you might like that.
That's great, man. I do know that my brother listens to the podcast. I think maybe my wife very sparingly. Other than that, I don't think much. My family catches too many episodes, so I'll talk about them freely.
Luckily, I've had enough clearing conversations with mum and dad now that I don't think there's much that could come up on these podcasts. I'm just thinking around intimacy, really. That's probably the only thing I'd be embarrassed to be sharing, and then go and sit around a table with her at Christmas dinner and be like, eh. But yeah. Anyway, I know you had a great topic you wanted to dive into. You want to take
Well, I mean, it's kind of goes right in line with what we're talking about now. Is we often hear from men that call up. So, guys, if you're interested in joining the activation method, right? It's our methodology where we help men save their marriage without talking about it. You get onto a call with one of our advisors, and the purpose for the first call is just to see if it's a good fit. What's going on in your life? What's going on in your marriage? Is this program going to help or not? Right? From our perspective, and are you a good fit from our perspective for the program? Right? We hold the community very closely and very tight because we have an amazing community of men that are in there in the private community. So when you get on, one of the things that the advisor says often talked about is guys will talk about their mother-in-law meddling in their marriage. So things start to go wrong, or more or less the scene is, Tim, is as the marriage starts to fall apart. Usually the man doesn't realize it. The woman does first. It's very common. Over 70% of divorces are initiated by women. In fact, Divorce Day, guys, is coming up. It's the first Monday in January after the holiday. So that's coming up. If you don't know what Divorce Day is, by the way, just throw it in there. Go back to a previous podcast and look at it because it's something I think all guys listening to this should know about. But the guys will start complaining and say their mother-in-law is meddling. So the woman eventually turns to her mother-in-law. The mother-in-law steps in and starts directing the marriage. She starts taking over. She starts telling the woman, or the wife in this case, what to do, how to think, how to feel. And oftentimes we'll butt in and tell the husband, you listener, the same thing. Now, it doesn't have to be the mother-in-law. You can substitute this person in. We'll use the mother-in-law for this podcast, Tim, but this could be the father-in-law. This could be your wife's best friend. This could be, you name it, her boss, somebody in her life that is stepping in and causing problems in your marriage.
Yeah, we see it a lot, right? Through all those variations, whether it's the mother-in-law because the wife begins to turn to her for essentially emotional safety and connection, right? Because the guy The guy I spoke with yesterday, we spoke about in the last podcast episode, he'd fallen into the trap of going out there and thinking he was doing all the right things by making money, right? Providing financially. And Amelia said something to me once I often refer to. She's like, look, you guys don't get it, do you? We're with you in spite of your business, not because of your business. That was a great line. But as guys, we do though, right? We think we're doing all the right things. We're going out there, we're working hard, we're following our passion, our dream for the most part. And we think it should just be appreciated and we should get respect and desire and all those things. So when we don't, and we don't understand why, and we're coming in through the door and we're not really connecting with our wife, and we're not listening to her, and she's trying to offload, and we don't understand the hidden motives is even a thing. That's what we give the guys in the activation method. Then we don't collect the berries. Then where the wife still needs to empty her berries. Those berries need to be emptied. So who is it that is then going to collect them? It becomes the mother. It becomes, like you said, the boss. It becomes the personal trainer. It becomes whoever it may be, right? It becomes that person collecting the berries, and whoever is collecting the berries is the person that the wife, the woman, typically then begins to connect with. She feels seen and heard by this person. And this person doesn't listen to Saul. This person is, okay, yeah, just listening. They may not even say a word, but 5-10 minutes later, your wife feels so much better after being able to empty the basket that, guess what? Where does she go next time? Guess what? As you come home again, tired, exhausted, because maybe you don't have something like the alpha decompression routine, and she goes to talk to you, but she can see that you just clearly shut down, then, do you know what? I'm just gonna save it for tomorrow for whoever is holding the basket. It's a very risky position to be in.
It really is. And it's really interesting how often this complaint comes up for men. And so when guys don't understand it, right? The analogy I like to use, Tim, and I've used it in this podcast many times, but I also get to remember that this could be the first time for many men to hear this, is imagine there's a ship out at sea and it's a storm. It's stormy weather. We've all seen the movies where the waves are 30, 40 feet high, right? They're cascading over the ship, and the ship looks like it's going to topple at any moment, right? I want you to picture that. Black skies, rain pouring down, and inside is the captain, right? And the captain is looking for safety. They know they need to make it to shore, but it's a rocky shoreline, right? Pitch black, they can't see a thing. And in the distance, they see a lighthouse. And so they head towards that lighthouse for safety, for security, for assurance, right? To know that they can make it safely in where they need to go and where they can be safe for once and for all. And as they make it towards that lighthouse, their hopes, their dreams fade away because the lighthouse turns off. Now they don't know what to do. Can't trust the lighthouse. They know there's rocks at the shore, so they head back out to that sea where they're almost as certain death. They're scared. They're lonely. That sea is still rocking them. That storm is still rocking them. And so what do? Well, as a ship's captain, you have to keep sailing. You have to find another lighthouse. And what's happened for most of these marriages and for most of these men, in this case, the mother-in-law becomes that lighthouse that is always shining. Now, maybe it doesn't shine as bright as your lighthouse, gentlemen, but it doesn't turn off. She knows that she can trust that lighthouse to be on. Maybe it's a coworker. Maybe it's a boss. Maybe it's an ex-boyfriend, right? That's showing her that, hey, I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to show up and be present for you, right? I'm going to be collecting your berries, as you said, Tim. So that captain is forced to leave your safe harbor, your lighthouse, because it is not consistent, because most of us have become a, quote, nice guy. We've gone into deer mode where we defend, excuse, explain, react. When you do any of those four things, defend, excuse, explain, or react, that is a version of your lighthouse going dim, going dark. So she must sail down for safe harbor. And oftentimes she's going to land with her mother, right? Your mother-in-law, or with another man. And this is often how emotional affairs start.
Yeah, it certainly is, especially with the guy that is listening to her without anything to prove, right? He's not been defensive. He's not being the deer, right? So imagine the contrast, right? So she's able to share what's going on for her, whether it's something that's going on in her day, whether it's something she's worried about, whether it's something she's excited about, whatever it may be, right? And this person is able to actually be engaged. We talk about engaging and difference as well, which is kind of similar but different. And this person is able to stand there like the lighthouse, like you've said. And then you walk in through the door that evening. The contrast is huge, especially if you fall into deer as well. She's just been around somebody who's a wolf, let's say, all day, wise, open, loving, and fierce. And that could even be the mother-in-law.
Yeah.
That could be her mother. But she's been around that wolf because women crave that kind of energy. The wolf becomes the container within which she can really just relax and let go and be free and play and smile and complain and whatever she feels like doing, right? Without being judged, without being told to hurry up, without being told to be quiet, without any of the things. So the contrast that can be experienced when you walk in through the door can be absolutely incredible.
It's so true, and when you see that your mother-in-law, again, when your mother-in-law is stepping in, guys, it's because your wife is looking for leadership and you are not providing it, or you're not providing the right kind of leadership for the marriage. Otherwise, she wouldn't go. She chose you to be your partner. So at one time or another, she believed that you could lead her and your family. Okay. Point blank. And that has changed and that has shifted. So this is time for you to regain that leadership. And most guys, I get it, are going to go, well, Doug, how? How do I do it? Well, the trick is you have to go from being deactivated to activated. And I know that sounds very vague, and it is, but that's the point that I was in. If you've heard me talk about my story about when I was in San Diego, right? And I had that realization of, hey, have I done everything I can? Am I the best version of myself? When those answers came back, no, I went after it with veracity to find that version of me, with ferocity, like the wolf. I just made up a word. But the point here is you got to go after it, man. You got to become activated. You've got to reactivate that spark within yourself like you were when you guys first met with your wife. You have to tip the scales back into your favor. And that starts with taking action. Another funny thing that happens, a lot of guys say is, hey, should I tell my wife I'm taking this program? Right? We have hundreds of men go through this program, the activation method. And guys ask that question. That's also, and it's a loaded question. It's a case-by-case one where we help each guy. But at the same time, your woman wants to see you taking action. Not talking about it, not saying, hey, I'm listening to a podcast. I'm listening to yet another Audible, about relationships and things like that. She wants to see you taking action. She wants to see you reclaiming your power. Because look, your wife at one time or another made a bet on you. She made a bet on the man that she thinks you are going to become, that she thought you would be, the man that's deep inside of you. And that man is dormant, quite honestly, for most men. And you need to wake him up. You need to reawaken him and activate him and reclaim your marriage. Reclaim your spot on your throne so that your mother-in-law or whoever else it is doesn't have a seat.
Yeah, let's give the guys a few things they could do right now because one's just come to mind for me. So,
Say it.
And then you go for it. So, typically, if you're in this position and this resonates, then the likelihood is you have made quite a lot of broken promises. Maybe you've said that you're going to fix the door. Maybe you've said that you are going to buy the cover for the outside furniture because it's coming into winter. Maybe you've said whatever it may be, right? There'll be a list of things over maybe the previous few weeks or months that you've said that you would get done, and you just haven't got around to them. For one reason or another, you haven't done them. Now, you may have forgotten about them. You may think that they're not a big deal, yet this is a sign to her that you don't follow through, and therefore she can't rely on you and she cannot trust you. She can't count this a version of your light turning on and off. So one of the things you could do is, if there are open loops, make a list of them and just commit to knocking them out either all in one day or over a weekend or over a couple of weekends, whatever it may be. Don't announce it. Don't say anything about it. Don't tell her that you've done it. Don't do anything. Just knock them out. And if she makes a big deal of it, just treat it like it is. It's nothing. You've just done what you said you were going to do. You're just taking care of things like you need to and like you should. And then just carry on. And just see what effect that has. What effect that has on her in a relationship. Does she then start coming to you with a few other things? Does she then start to open up to you again? Doug?
Man, there's so many things. So if we're only going to give a couple here, obviously I want to say, find a way to allow your wife to be seen, heard, and desired, right? All women want to be seen, heard, and desired. We teach in the activation method a very specific way for men to do this easily. We don't have time to do it here on the podcast or the show, but find a way immediately, as in today, to allow your wife to be seen, heard, and desired.
Can you give an example of being seen, being heard, and being desired?
Absolutely. So, just last night, having a conversation with my wife about it. So when my wife was telling me something that she was upset about, something that was hurting her, right? It was very easy to go, yeah, got it. I understand it, right? But that doesn't make her feel seen, heard, or desired, right? So what I could do in that situation is I can then validate what she's saying, right? So she's talking to me about something very personal to her. I could say, man, I imagine, right? I put myself in her shoes. I'd imagine that would be really disturbing. I'm trying to be vague because I don't want to say what it is because it's her thing. And I want to respect that. But I could say, hey, I'd imagine that would be really tough, to be in that predicament and going through that issue you're going through. I think that would really drain me and make it hard to manage the house and the family, especially when I'm going on trips and traveling all over the world. So what I'm doing is I'm validating her viewpoint on the situation, right? That's going through. Now she feels seen and heard. She knows I heard what she said, but she also recognizes that I'm seeing her as a human, as the woman that she is and what she's going through in this life and this partnership we have together, right? And desired, I pulled her in, grabbed the small of her back and pulled her in close to me and gave her a kiss and a hug, right? And then I put my hand on her ass, but that's what I do. So, but she knew that I wanted her. And she knew that she was seen and heard. And for most women, being seen and heard trumps desire. They still want to be desired, don't get me wrong, but you got to make them feel seen and heard. And that's why the most common thing that we hear from the women, that we talk to, essentially is they don't feel that there's any connection in the marriage anymore. They don't feel connected. And that's really what they're talking about. They don't feel seen and heard.
Great point. I don't want to give any more. I think those two are more than enough. If the guys just do those two things, leaving this podcast, because the likelihood is there is a list of open loops. There is a list of things they have committed to that they haven't done. So I think if they just started to knock those out, the mystery that can create, the surprise element, all those things, along with the validation piece, start there, guys, and see if your wife then starts coming back to you for a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. Most guys won't do these two. These two things are very easy to do and very easy not to do. But there's going to be a few of you listening to this that are different. There's going to be a few of you listening to this that are going to take this. You're already be making the list right now of the open loops. You're already be thinking about the ones that you're going to be knocking out and when you're going to be knocking them out. I respect guys like that. I love it because I just love to know that you are just taking action. Because like we said on the last podcast, you got to admit when things aren't working. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result.
It's true. I'm going to give you guys a third one because I care so much is just take massive action, guys. Just take massive action. If you haven't been on a call with one of our advisors or you're sitting on the fence, get off the fence. Either say, no, I'm not doing the activation method. Cool. No problem with that. But find something else. Or if you're thinking about it, just do it. Just do it. Get the results. Take some massive action. Stop sitting on the fence, guys. Having one foot on the dock, one foot on the boat. When that boat starts to take off, It's not a very comfortable feeling because if you guys are like me, we're not quite as flexible as we used to be. And I'm going to be ending up in the water. So jump on the boat or jump on the dock 2 feet in. All right, guys, that's a wrap for this episode. But as I always say, in the moment of insight, take massive action. You see, there are 2 types of men that listen to a podcast like this. Those that go on from one podcast or show to another, just hoping things are going to change and realizing that they're going to be in the same place month after month, year after year. You see, I was this guy, so I completely get it. You may just not be ready. But there's also a second man that listens to a show just like this. And this is a guy who takes massive action so they can shorten the learning curve, compress time, and get results to be the wolf. See, wolf is an acronym for wise, open, loving, and fierce. Now, ask yourself, which one am I? And just be honest with yourself there. And there's no judgment on my end, but if you're ready to move from deactivated deer mode, which is defend, excuse, explain, react, to activated wolf, wise, open, loving, and fierce, then go over to thepowerfulman.com/grow and go there now. In fact, I'll make it super easy for you. I will even put the link right in the description here so you can just click it and go over there now to learn more. Guys, in the moment of insight, take massive action. Go from deactivated to activated because like I said, life is too short for average. And I'll see you on the next episode.